minutes. We have minutes of March 16th. And I think the only correction that I had was somewhere in there, Joe, we made a correction on Kersey Circle to Kersick Circle, and they had it down as Donnie Parsons. It was really Donnie Pick from the police department.
It's on line 88, I think.
What is it, line 88?
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, line 88. They got the wrong guy in there.
Okay.
Oh.
You gotta blame the right guy. Curtis Circle, yeah. Any other corrections or deletions? Okay, can I have a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item on the agenda, 164 Main Street. Dan is gonna sit in as a full-time member. Was he afraid of you, Melissa?
Good evening.
She's got the code in.
No, no go.
All right, can I have a motion to open this public hearing on 164 Main Street?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Melissa, you're up.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Melissa Robbins from the law firm of Farrell and Robbins. I'm here tonight for Morey Brothers General Contracting for a project at 164 Main Street. Also with me tonight is Jeff Morey from Morey Brothers General Contracting and Jamie Holmes from Morey Brothers General Contracting, as well as Jim Zegowitz, who's the project architect, and Matt Waterman, who's the project civil engineer. We're here tonight for a conversion. Under the Town of Westford zoning bylaws, you can get a conversion for a single-family dwelling for up to 4 dwelling units if the house was built prior to zoning. If anybody's looked at the property card, this one certainly meets that criteria. This house was built in 1746, which I think is about 20 years after the Town of Westford was actually adopted and 200 years before zoning was enacted, so we meet that threshold. The site itself is about 2.17 acres. It's zoned residential A. The proposal, as you can see, the top right-hand corner, I won't talk about the architecture too much because you'll get to hear that from Mr. Zegowitz, will convert the structure into 3 units, so we're not going up to 4. Currently, the house is a single-family home. The assessor's card notes that there's an apartment in there. I think that they actually did the current owner has done some boarding in there as well, so there has been people coming through the property. But right now, the property contains 7 bedrooms, and we're proposing to keep the 7 bedrooms. We're gonna have 1 3-bedroom unit and 2 2-bedroom units, so the bedroom count will not change whatsoever. We did get some early neighborhood comments, and I think they're probably in your packet. A lot of them, I think, stemmed from confusion as to what conversion actually is. There was questions about building new structures, about concerns about apartment buildings in here. Obviously, there will be no new structures. That's the purpose of the conversion, is to rehabilitate these older structures and keep them in town. And these will not be apartments. These will be for sale 3 condominium units within the development. There was also an abutter to the rear that was concerned about the existing play court, and I know we've addressed this issue many times with this board, so it's not part of your set that was proposed, but you can see now we're proposing a tree line. I know the tree line's at an angle, but that actually goes towards the house that had a concern about the noise that may come from the play court. So we are proposing now just to have a nice landscape barrier around that basketball court. There's nothing there today. It's an older court. So that tree line will not only benefit us, but it will also benefit the abutters. As to the historic nature of the structure, our architect has already met with the Historic Commission, or one of the historic members as well, out on site, and he'll discuss that. I think that we're not doing any sort of special permit extension or anything out here, even though this house may be considered pre-existing non-conforming, as is noted in your staff report. We're simply looking for a conversion within the existing structure. I will tell you that after our meeting with the Historic Commission, they would like us to keep one fireplace in that we were going to remove, and that may require a small bump out in the rear. And Jim will go through that in a little bit more detail, and the board can decide whether or not they'd like to accommodate that little bump out so that that fireplace can remain. But generally speaking, to your special permit criteria, I think that this application easily meets your special permit criteria. It allows for the maintenance and rehabilitation of the historic home. It allows for ample parking. We're going to be using current utilities. There's town water. We'll be rehabilitating the septic on the site. We're not going to be increasing the bedroom count, so that's pretty simple. We're expanding no bedroom count whatsoever on the site. It's 7 today, and 7 will remain. Will far exceed the number of parking on the site. And really, once I think you see the pictures of the way this house looks right now, this house is really falling in some disrepair, and I think this will be an improvement not only to this site, but will be a fiscal impact to the neighborhood as well. Since I have my experts here, I won't talk anymore. I'll actually turn it over to Matt Waterman just to go through a couple of the civil issues, and then just turn over to Jim Zegowitz to talk about what we're planning on the rehabilitation.
Thank you. Matt Waterman, Land Tech, for the record. With the site plan that's on the projector in your packets, we've done a survey. We've had the wetlands flagged. There's a wetland kind of that comes off the hill. It kind of starts in the upper right corner of this plan and in the lot. It extends down to Main Street, crosses under Main Street, and then continues towards Deer Run and the Chestnut Hill Estates subdivision. The driveway, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this house, where the house sits up on the hill with a horseshoe driveway and a red barn off to the left. There was extensive kind of turnaround there, so when we were looking at what we would do to make improvements to the site, obviously staying away from the conservation areas, improving parking up in and around the barn area. The desire is to convert the barn so that it is able to support and park 3 cars in there, 1 for each unit. And then there'll be 6 surface spaces out in front of those units. And then we added 2 parking spaces down in the lower right for a total of 11 spaces for 3 units. As Melissa said, the utilities are going to get upgraded. Currently it's on a well. We're going to connect it to town water, which is available on Main Street. There's actually a stub already for this lot when they ran the water line along Main Street. We did soil testing with the Board of Health. We submitted a preliminary plan. It was a draft plan. It was submitted just to generate comments for this hearing. I know there was comments in there that they hadn't received any plans. I think there was a miscommunication at the Board of Health office, but the plan that we submitted generally conforms to their regulations. Now, obviously, they still have to review a formal plan, but we did lay out a septic system, which is shown on this, behind the existing barn, which can support the 7 bedrooms. Other than that, I think Melissa covered it with the conservation area. The only improvements on the exterior, there's a small deck off the back and a porch entryway, and then the 2 spaces within the 100-foot wetland buffer. But otherwise, all the improvements are outside the jurisdiction of the conservation and are limited to the parking lot.
And I just want to add too that the purview of this board does cover the garage as well. Sometimes we eliminate the accessory uses and sometimes we keep them, but here I think it makes all the sense in the world to try to rehabilitate the existing barn and use it as not only a architectural feature, but also have 3 indoor parking spaces to accommodate the new dwellings. And with that, we'll turn over to Jim Zegowitz to go through the architecture.
Good evening, everyone. Jim Zegowitz. I'm with the MZO Group Architects, Main Street in Sloan, with my remote office right down here on Carlisle Road. I will say down on Carlisle Road. So just a couple of quick things about us in terms of the overall design approach, in terms of the sensitivity to an existing historic structure. I cut my teeth in the National Historic Park down in downtown Lowell back in the 90s when they were renovating everything up and down downtown. Was heavily involved with the Bon Marché block, the Enterprise Bank building, the old fire station on middle of Market, and a whole bunch of stuff up and down Market Street and other places around the city. Not to mention, we have about 4 of these projects on our boards right now, very similar to these. I think we met on the 124 main, right up the street, that I think will turn into a wonderful project as that thing moves along. I live in a house that is 10 years this junior, so I know how these things work. And I spent years on the Westford Historic Commission. Have a great I like to think I have a great working relationship with David and Brian and Robert and everybody else over there. In terms of the overall approach on this, if I could, let me just run through some of the quick stats on of the existing building. First floor, 2,600 square feet, plus or minus. It has 10 rooms, 3 kitchen spaces, 2.5 baths, 4 fireplaces. Second floor is about 2,600, similar, 2,600 square feet, 9 rooms, 3 bathrooms, 3 more fireplaces. And up in the attic, currently there's 714 square feet, 2 big rooms, there's a kitchen space up there, there's a big bathroom, semi-finished. It's kind of a strange conglomeration of spaces throughout the entire building. And I think my client taking this thing on and performing the renovations is a great thing. It's one of the, I don't see how a single family owner is gonna come in here and spend the kind of money that's gonna be required to bring this thing up to what it really needs. It's 276-year-old house. It needs a lot of maintenance from stem to stern, from the foundation to the roof.
Can you go back up?
There's a rafter just left
To the right
of
pictures.
just left of the entrance, all the way up at the roof, that's cracked and sagging. It's kind of hard to see it right there, but I think in general, when you take a look at some of these photos, you get an idea of what is going to be required to get this back into shape. And I think somebody coming in here and putting together a project like this, and that's going to touch every single surface of this building, is the best thing that could ever happen to them. Okay. That's enough of that. So on our general approach here is to split the building up into 3 units. Could you go to the first floor plan?
Yep.
So our intent is to divide the building into 3 manageable townhouse type style buildings so that we can get the fire separations in there fairly reasonably from the foundation or basement slab up to the underside of the roof sheathing. And to do that, we have a unit all the way to the left. You can see in this plan the separations are noted by that heavy dashed line, sort of separating the wing to the left, the middle part of the building, and then the wing to the right. Just to talk quickly about how these plans are laid out. They're to the top right of the first floor plan in every series of floor plans. There's the existing floor plan, and to me, I think it was important to get the existing floor plan on the same page as a proposed floor plan. Show you what's exactly involved in terms of, if you look at the proposed floor plan on this page, it'll show you existing walls in a dashed form that show you what we have to rip out, and other walls that are going in that are shaded. I think what I tried to illustrate here is that we are not stretching the footprint in any way, shape, or manner other than the front porch that will be added to the right-hand side of the building. That unit, I think it's unit 3 or unit C. Let's see. So in the existing floor plan, you can get a good look at the main gut of the main body of the building. There's a central central chimney stack with 3 fireplaces all around it. There's a bread box to the left, or beehive oven. I got to tell you, I don't know the exact terminology of all this stuff. But the front 2 parlors and those 2 fireplaces are really well preserved. It's our intent to try and work with all this kind of stuff, and like we always do on these historic buildings. You know, there's no way to renovate this old building and have a for sale product when you're done that's not screaming that I'm a 270-year-old building. So it's our intent to take those features and try and renovate them, preserve them, maintain them, and introduce them back into the building as part of a marketable, as part of the marketing strategy, so that when you're looking at these old buildings and you're looking at an old unit, it's got some of that stuff that's just going to shine right through. This building in particular, unlike a million that I've been in these old buildings, have some of these features that are just incredibly well preserved. The fireplaces, the mantles that are around that, maybe not necessarily the left and right mantles, but the one facing the top of the page on that first floor plan, the associated storage boxes and compartments around those fireplaces, some of the wainscoting, the corner posts in those front two rooms are really well preserved. And it's our intent to, as much as possible, we'll save those things and integrate them back into the design of the building. So that when we're done, we're still seeing that kind of stuff. All right, blah, blah, blah. Let's go, moving on to the next page. This one is an enlargement of the first floor plan. I'll show you a little more clearly on what we intend to do there and how we intend to split the building. The left-hand side, again, they're separated by way of that heavy dash line. And just to take notice, on the right, that sort of the right-hand side unit, there is a coat closet if you find your way through. I have one of these pointer things I can show you.
Oh, you're even ready. Oh,
There's one right there.
Is that?
Yeah, it's orange button at the beginning. Yeah.
The front door to the right-hand unit is right there. We intended to sort of create that foyer space here and create a nice living dining room in the back. The one space, the one place that we have filled in here, there is a covered porch. If you saw in the existing plan, this area right here is an existing covered porch. So we're going to reclaim. It's our intent to reclaim that space and bring it inside the building. And make it part of the livable floor area. Again, we're not stretching the floor plan. However, when we go to the next plan, the one fireplace that really didn't make a lot of sense to keep for us at the time we originally designed this thing was this one. This one is giant. I think you can see it's about 8 feet wide. It's about 3.5 feet deep. That portion, it's our belief that this portion of the building right here was an accessory barn type maintenance type thing that was built on the side of the existing, or the main home at some point during its duration. But when we were out there with members of the Historic Commission, they really liked it, they want to keep it, and for us, it was just a matter of trying to redesign that floor plan to make it work while leaving that fireplace in place. To do that, if we just left it there and didn't stretch the back of the building, it would create the dining space. But the dining space would have been squeezed. Can you?
I don't know what you did there either.
I hit one of those. Yeah. To create adequate space for the dining room, it's our intent to push out the back of the building 4 feet. The full width of the building is in that area is about 24 and change. So the net gain in floor area of the total square footage of footprint expansion for the building is 98 square feet. I think it's a pretty reasonable request. I think it's we like the idea of working with that chimney. I think it's again a great feature. And if we can keep it, and if you see it fit that would work, then that would be great. We would follow that design path. Second floor, please. So again, this is the existing second floor to the top right. Original proposal, bottom left. Again, there's a 2-bedroom unit all the way to the left, a 3-bedroom unit in the middle. Again, we intend to maintain all the fireplaces on that second floor. They'll either they'll either be visible to the bedrooms, front, left, and right, to the hallway in the back, which it currently is. There's another hallway. You can see in the existing conditions plan, that fireplace is just stuck in a hallway across from the linen closet in the bathroom. It'll be similarly located, but we do intend to keep that thing. If you move to the next floor, one thing about that's an enlarged proposed second floor. One more would show us where we would like to go with the rear extension going out 4 feet, 98 square feet on the lot. It cleans up our stairs. It cleans up our stairs here, and we move the stair from here to the corner in this unit. Nice thing about that is that there are some beams, some existing exposed beams in the structure that we can now align with that wall of the stair and try and maintain as much as possible. in the proposed design. So again, a 2-bedroom unit on the left, a 3-bedroom in the middle, and a 2-bedroom on the right. Next page. These are just the attic plans. In all cases, the 3 proposed units would have basically just rec space, extra space for kids or whatever up in the attic, bonus space that we call. You can see in the top right, the existing floor plan, there's a really bizarre stair that runs up to it. You can fall off the right down into the second floor. There's no railings. It's a oddly located staircase. There's a nice giant full bathroom up there, and it looked like they were getting ready to install a kitchen behind the main chimney stack right here. There's some plumbing run there. These are actually kind of nice spaces. The roof goes down to the floor level, but with some decent knee walls on either side, you get some pretty nice space up there. There's a massive rafter that'll have to be repaired here. That's it's about an 8x8 with a full crack all the way through it, but we will definitely repair that. On the left-hand unit, you can see the proposed attic space, and we could probably go to the next plan just to try and keep it a little bit. The left-hand space, currently there is nothing up here. There's a staircase, the staircase is almost a ladder that gets you there in the existing conditions, but that is not used currently. It's our intent that we would use that. We would continue to stair up to that level. And again, we'd install some small knee walls on either side of that space and use that. So it's a giant space that I know my kids would love to have room around it. And on the elevations, so I think this is a good set of elevations to look at and to show you what the differences are that we're proposing. The top is the existing conditions. The bottom is the proposed. You can see from moving from left to right, there really isn't a heck of a lot of difference. Actually, there's no difference at all except for the chimney disappears on the left-hand side. That chimney is currently not connected to any fireplaces. There's nothing inside that thing goes down to. It goes to the basement. I think there's an existing heating unit that dumps into it, but there's no masonry fireplaces on the inside of the house that open to that. You can go back and see that in the floor plans. It's just a chimney stack that goes right down to the basement. So the first thing that you'll see that we're really going to change is when you get to the right-hand side of the building. There's an existing bay window here that we all know wasn't original to the house. So that goes. We're going to clean up some of the windows. All the other fenestration on the front of the house will be returned to the 6/6 or 8/8. I can't remember. I can't see. The original configurations, and then we will replicate that to the right. What we'll do on the right-hand side is we'll take the existing salt box form that is there today, and we just intend to raise that, raise that up a few feet to get adequate headroom in the spaces underneath that. And out the very back, we would push a little shed dormer to gain enough room to get that master bedroom in there. If we go to the proposal where we would stretch the back, the same thing would apply. The back wall would move out about 4 feet. This rafter would raise, less than 2 feet. The same forms would be represented as that are currently represented in the building. We spoke with, again, members of the Historic Commission that were out there. They have no problem with that. They like the idea that we're going to keep those forms. Frankly, they didn't seem too concerned about it at all. What they really wanted to do is maintain that chimney. So we'll maintain that chimney. It'll still be clear of all the roofs. There'll be plenty of height. And I think we'll satisfy everybody's concerns with that. What else we got? Where's that last one? Okay, on the back, one thing is getting to the back. In our discussions with the Historic Commission, across the front of the building and the 2 sides of the building, we'll use lap siding as is currently on the building, and we'll try and replicate the graduated siding that brings you down to a water table that's a real heavy trim band across the bottom. Right above the water table, as I guess was practiced years ago, they have this graduated type siding that goes from about 1.5 inches and it eventually gets up to about the 4-inch exposure as you move up. It's our intent that we'll try and replicate that to the best of our abilities. Not on the back though. The back we're gonna use some siding that is a little bit more economical, given the amount of work that we intend to do on the house, and the historic commission had no issues with that. That is it's kind of a strange little space, but that's the porch that we intend to fill in. With all this new work, it provides us the opportunity to raise that eave line. Right now, if you're standing in that porch, that header beam is right at about your chin. It's about 5 feet total in there. It's kind of an odd space, not really sure what's going on, but our intent is to raise that up and get some real livable space in both that space and the second floor. And to the right, we'll have to move a couple of windows here and there just to make the plans work. This bump out will remain. We'll put a nice window in there, and that'll be a nice little office space. And we currently don't have any designs yet to deal with this. That's another one of those enclosed porches that, again, that header is right about your nose. It's kind of an odd place, but we haven't, we're not gonna change that. We don't wanna propose anything like that at this point. What else? I guess that would do it. So siding, roofing would just be your standard asphalt roof shingles. We'd probably go at it with architectural type shingle. Something a little more like you might see, a wood roof. I guess that's about it. And the entries up to all these exterior doors, moving again left to right, all those stone, those granite steps, they all lead you up to about an 18-inch step before you're at the door. So our intent would be to pull those things out, make an adequate landing space, something a little more code compliant. And any of the granite, if it's not used on those stairs, we'll use it somewhere else on the lot. We have no desire to lose that stuff. It's like gold out there. And the porch on the right, that will be more of a wood frame type front entrance to get you up there. I think that's it, unless somebody has any questions.
Just, Mr. Chair, too, about to the existing uses. So I think that even some of the abutter concerns were regarding the apartment concerns, but I think what they were really worried about was the boarding that's happened there. Boarding is allowed in the RA zoning district for up to 5 people, so I think that's probably what was happening here in the spaces. And I did actually pull all the building code records. I do like to pull through them once I take a new project on, and basically 80% of the file is Board of Health reports about people calling, and maybe 1 or 2 letters from former Commissioner Hackala about the use of the property and not taking any action. So the good news is with the conversion, this will no longer be a single-family residence, and the boarding will no longer be allowed.
If I might, just to wrap, the barn, there's an existing barn on the site that we fully intend to renovate and bring back to its former glory, maybe not all the way back into 270 years ago, but through our discussions with the commission, the end that faces Main Street, it's their desire that they see that thing again receive new siding treatment, lap siding, something in a traditional historic nature. We're going to maintain the opening that leads under the building. We're going to try and keep all the columns, and there's granite posts in there. There's some those probably have to replace, but it's our intent at this point to leave the framing system. We'll probably have to augment it and lay down a decent mill type, a millboard type floor up there, so we can actually park cars in there. 2.5-inch, thick tiny roof type board in there, plank in there to get our cars in. The barn's about 32 by 42 right now, so it's plenty adequately sized for 3 cars, so it's actually much larger than needed. And the other 3 sides we would probably handle we would replace the windows that are there, or anything that's suggestive in the framing that would suggest a better location for some fenestration, but we'd replace the existing 3 doors that are on there right now, work with some of those openings that are currently existing in the barn frame to bring that back to good shape.
And just so the board's aware, the other permits or departments, we did get conservation comments that say we have to file with conservation. We do know that, and we will proceed with conservation if this board approves. We will have to go forward and file for our Board of Health permit for the repair and upgrade of that system. and we will do that if this board approves. And we will also need site plan review from the planning board, since this will be a creation of a multifamily structure. So we would do that after, if this board approves. So that would be the outstanding permitting that would still be required after this board. But I think you've heard enough from us, so we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
So you already answered one question that I had, is you are gonna make space under the barn, because I know there's a drive-through in there, parking, whatever it is, storage for the units, that's good. On that basketball court, how close is the closest house?
It's 100, we actually have a plan. If you go to the third plan, I think. This one here shows all the distances, so.
192 feet,
Yeah,
oh,
there,
that's
it's
not it.
that's the closest house to the court there, so
Yeah.
you can see that it's 192 feet from the structure. And that's why we've put the tree line at such that weird angle, just so that it actually will block any sound that may go to that house, because the other houses are just so far away. So that it doesn't make any sense to do additional screening to the other properties.
Okay. And, what are you gonna do with that swimming pool?
We had an argument today amongst the team of whether the pool still existed or did not exist. The engineer says that it's gone, but regardless of the fact, the pool will be
Gonna
removed.
come out?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the pool's gone.
What's that?
So I'm pretty sure the pool's gone, because we did not see it when we were out there.
Yeah.
But you see it in all the aerials, and you see a little,
Right.
like a pool cover, you see like a fluorescent blue cover, and it's been there for a long time, because you go back in the Google Earth and you can see it. It's been there for a long time. It's either been filled in, and it was not obvious to us, and we were walking around while we were doing the soil testing, and I do not remember seeing a pool.
But it will be removed if it still exists today.
I think kinda blends in with the wetlands over there somehow.
I think it's that area that the wetlands go around.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
exactly. Any questions from the board?
There's no lighting to the basketball court, right?
No,
Nope.
Okay,
It's
and
not intended to be.
could we condition that to,
yes.
there would be no lighting in the future?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just a passive play area. There'll be no upgrades, except perhaps the pavement is quite old, so there could be some upgrades to the existing pavement, but other than that, and the landscaping, no upgrades. Just a nice passive play area.
To
And
keep the court, if you upgrade, you're gonna keep it in the same location? You wouldn't-
Yeah, we wouldn't upgrade it at all, maybe just work on the surfacing, but,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
in the third floor, would you have a problem with conditioning that it can never be used as a bedroom?
No, because we have to ensure that they have no more bedrooms anyway, because we will have a 7-bedroom limit, so we'd be satisfied with that condition.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
after you walk out the door, everybody has their own ideas.
Yes, no, we'd be satisfied with the condition that the attic space not be converted.
Okay.
Will there be any storage or anything above the 3-car garage? The 3 bays?
There, right now, there's some partial floors up there, and it's our intent to leave those. We definitely don't want we definitely don't want to start ripping out that kind of framing. That's gonna keep that thing in place. But there's no intent to add another floor inside or anything like that. Just what's currently there, we want to maintain and reuse.
But it actually gives us some quite usable space for storage for the unit owners outside of their attic space and unit space, because they can use that for storage above their vehicles if they park it in there. So it's actually quite usable.
What's the access to it?
It's just open to the garage area. Like right now, you'll go into the garage door, there'll be a parking bay, and it's like a semi-finished floor space to it with maybe a ladder.
So we would like to propose a reasonable steep stair
Right.
in there. It's actually a pretty good sized barn for a 3-car garage.
Yeah, I think it's, like you said, 32 feet deep, so it's pretty,
Yeah.
the stalls would be pretty deep.
Well, to Scott's point, you just want to make sure that there's no living area created up there
No.
once this is done.
No, and we satisfied it with a condition that there'll be no living area in there.
Anybody in the audience to speak in favor of this? Anybody in the audience to speak in opposition to this? Any comment from the audience?
That's very good.
We have your name for the record, please.
Martina Seaman.
Thank you. I think it's a great project.
Two.
That house has been around forever. I just think it's time that someone goes in and does something with it and makes it a nice piece of property again. Okay, well, seeing how we have no public comment, can I have a motion to close the public
So
hearing?
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So, Joe, can you read us the conditions that we've spouted out?
So you have no lighting on the court.
Mm-hmm.
The third floor will have no bedrooms. There'll be no bedrooms on the third floor of the dwelling, and no living area within the barn/garage space.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else that they got?
No, I think the design is, Jim did a great job explaining everything. I think it's very well done. Looks like a great project.
We would agree to have no lighting or into the rear of the property, to any of the recreation area.
And the vegetation around the court as shown, because that plan came in late. I just wanna make sure that-
So
Yeah.
you have that, Joe? Okay. So we are looking for a special permit pursuant to section 10.2 of the Westford zoning bylaws to convert an existing residential structure from 2 units to 3 units. Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Dan?
Yes.
Scott F.?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
And I will also vote in the affirmative.
Thank you very much.
So I don't need to remind you of the details?
No.
You've got it all down?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, it's a great
Good luck.
project.
It's a nice project.
Thank you very much.
Jamie, a lot of work here. You better crack the whip with those guys. Keep their nose to the grindstone.
Jeff, you probably played basketball in that court at some point, right? Yeah. All right. The next article in front of us is 25 Kersey Circle, which is a continuation. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? So it's the Melissa show, okay.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair. For the record, I'm Melissa Robbins from the law firm of Farrell and Robbins. I'm here tonight for Murph and Lisa McKeon. Murph McKeon here with me. I did watch the last meeting, but I wasn't present. I know that the abutters had significant concerns and the board had some concerns. We've submitted a bunch of material since the last meeting, so I'd just like to run through it to see if it satisfies the board's concerns. The first thing we've submitted is the architectural plan. The McKeons had noted that we would be removing the second floor from the plan, and those plans now reflect the removal of the second floor. On the architectural plans as well, to address the stormwater runoff issue, we've worked with the architect and also Mark Slager from Allen Engineering to make sure that all, and a little bit of an excess, I would say, that all of the roof runoff is going to be claimed from this property. There will be runoff now directly into the gutters, the downspout, and we'll go into dry wells. There's actually 3 dry wells proposed along this addition, which I think anybody that has dealt with drainage before could attest that that is a significant catch-all for all of the drainage runoff. And our architect and engineer are comfortable that that will satisfy any and all stormwater runoff from this property. A drip line's also been added to the civil plan. You can't see it on the architectural drawings, but it's all shown on the civil drawings. On the architectural plans themselves, I think there were some questions as to what areas belong to the ADU and what areas belong to the primary residence. So our architect actually made us a colored plan, which I thought was very helpful. It's hard to see the colors up on the screen, but really the top area there is all of the existing structure. The areas that show up on the screen there is lightish gray. Those will be new to the principal structure. The one in the top middle is a new power source area, and the one on the front right is a porch. That'll be shared actually with the ADU area. You can see that there's a separate entrance in, but that will go into the main structure. The ADU area is actually shown in light green. The ADU area itself is only 786 square feet. I know that the McKeons had told you at the last meeting about their elderly disabled parents needing to move in here. So really, most of the size here is to accommodate their disabilities. There's not extra space in here. We have an office, a bedroom, a kitchen, and a living room, and that's it. The shocking part for me was when I reviewed this was that the living area was 784 feet, so I was trying to figure out how we got so far over space, but the garage needs in an ADA, excuse me, requirement, the garage is actually 568 square feet. I understand that the reason for that is for the ADA accessible vehicle and also to allow a ramp to come out and then a ramp to go into the structure takes all of that space. So as the board's considering this, I just want to make sure you understand that the unit itself actually conforms to your zoning. It's the garage that actually pushes it over the size. And what's driving the size is the handicap accessibility. I'm sure if that wasn't necessary, it could have been pulled up to the other garage and slapped on as a third bay, but that's not going to be, you can't do that with this type of device, especially with the accessibility that's necessary into the unit. We're asking for no dimensional relief whatsoever here. This unit 100% complies with zoning. I say that just to say if this were just a typical extension, if we were just coming for a building permit, we would need no relief from this board whatsoever. It would just be building permit time. The reason we're before this board is because of the expectation of privacy we're trying to give the parents in this ADU. And the reason that we need the variance is for the size that we go over because of the garage. I just want to make sure that's very clear for the board's review. The other issue, other than the stormwater and the second floor, was the landscaping. So now what we're proposing is directly behind the proposed addition is a line of trees. And I say tight to the house, but they're as tight as they can be and be smartly placed agriculturally. So I think that they're 7 or 8 feet off of the back of the constructed property so that there's room for them to grow. Ironically enough, we have to take a couple trees out in order to put the trees in, but I think that it will still be nice because we can control these trees. Obviously, they'll be healthy, larger arborvitae, they will have lower growth, so it will give some different screening than what exists out there today. I was curious myself as to what exists out there today, so I had Mark Slager actually prepare the next plan, which shows the Google Earth overview, and I always think these are so helpful so you can actually see reality, even though it's hard to see these squiggly lines. But the proposed addition shows all in white, and then we will have the new tree line. It's difficult to see on this plan, but almost to the end of the N, there's an arrow that points to the abutter's property that's approximately 121 feet away. That tree line there, except for what we're taking out for the addition and the addition of the new landscaping, will remain. So those trees will remain. At the last meeting you talked about the septic system leach area. You can see, because there's no directional arrow on here, I'm going to call this the right-hand side, where it says proposed septic system leach area. That's really where the trees and questions are. And Mark Slager took a good guess, pillowing out the areas where he thinks the trees will be removed, but there could be some trees when they go into installation that have to be removed from the existing house to the septic system there, so more to the right-hand side. But the proposed tree line is there. You can see there's some pretty substantial growth, and there'll be some new landscaping put in as well, just to give some additional new screening to the house. And you can see in the front, the existing tree line goes around, but I don't know why he carried that through the center of the yard, because obviously there's no trees there. But I think that really answers the question about existing landscaping, what we're proposing in the areas we're going to stay in, and shows the tree line going from the neighbor's house to the proposed addition. I think other than that, that's what the board and some of the abutters' concerns are. I think you went through the criteria at the last hearing, but again, just looking at this application myself, this special permit clearly makes the intent of your ADU bylaw. It meets all special permit purposes. This is the reason that this bylaw was put in place, so people with extended family members that needed care could move into their house. I think this is a reasonable addition. It conforms with dimensional zoning, although we're seeking relief under the special permit section themselves. Certainly given the reasons why we're looking for the expanded area, I think that it's very reasonable for the board to grant not just a special permit but the variance for the additional size for that garage. But I'm happy to answer any questions the board or the abutter may have. I think that the McKeons have done a lot of work in the month that they've been off and tried to address every concern, but we're happy to answer any more questions you may have.
I think they've done a great job. I think the the shrubs is one thing, but the attention to detail for the proposed drip line so that runoff is not a problem, I think is the number one thing. I think that's key. And as far as the ADU garage goes, it's hard to, in my mind, it's hard to consider that ADU's footage.
Yep.
Because it's not living space, it's garage. It's a necessary thing. I understand why it has to be so big after your explanation, and I really have no other issues with any of this. I think it looks awesome. Any other questions, proposals from the board?
I think it looks good.
Looks good.
Anybody in the audience have anything to say in favor or against?
I just have a question.
Can you come up to the microphone, please, and have your name?
Martina Celian, 27 Kersey Circle. I just wanted to understand the dry wells, because when we talked the last night, it sounded like, the Cultec system, there was a lot of calculations involved. But it looks like, and the architect planned that there's 3 dry wells. So I just wanted to make sure that an engineer looked at it, and it will take the runoff from the roof.
So this Mark Slager that she's referring to at Allen Engineering, that's his business.
Okay, that's fine, yeah.
So he is the engineer that did all these calculations. He appears before us a lot, so I have
Okay, yeah.
confidence that he's right.
Okay, no, it was just when we spent so much time talking about the impervious surface and
Mhm.
runoff and all that, I couldn't see it on the plan other than the dry wells, so that's good.
Well, there's multiple ways that you can
Yeah, that's what
express
I
that,
gave a
yeah.
quick look up today, so I think it depends on the amount of stone and surrounding stuff as
Yes,
well.
yeah.
So I'm assuming that's all taken care of in there. Okay, all right, thanks.
Anyone else in the audience have any comment? What about the board? We all set?
I just have one question. So the sunroom will be just part of the old structure, right? That's.
It'll be
just-
part of it'll be accessible by both the private and the new structure, so it's shared space, so that's not considered part of the ADU.
Okay. I don't think we need any conditions because they've met them all. And so, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So, what we're looking for is the creation of a 786 square foot accessory dwelling unit via addition to the existing house in a variance from section 3.3.4.3 to permit an ADU that can, construction that creates more than 50% increase in gross floor area. So, which one do you want to take first? Staff?
We can do the variance first.
Variance first, that's what I thought, okay. So, can we have a motion to create a variance to permit an ADU structure that exceeds 15% of the gross floor space?
So moved.
Second.
Dan?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
Jay? And I'll also vote in the affirmative. So the variance passes. Now we need a special permit for the creation of an accessory dwelling unit of 786 square feet. For that motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Dan?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
And I will also vote in the affirmative. So you're all set?
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
It looks nice. Melissa can tell you all about the time that they have for the right to decision. It has to be filed with the town clerk, and there is an appeal period, so you may not want to start banging nails till after you get beyond the appeal period, just in case, just saying.
Thank you very much.
It just so happens the next item is the potential changes to ADUs. Go figure, huh? This is the second reiteration of this. Sierra, I guess this is your baby. So let's hear it.
We're all working on it, but
Yeah.
yes, I've claimed it my baby. So I'm just gonna give a very quick overview of the other items that are in there to provide some context. I think we had provided this chart last time to you and the planning board. It includes all of the ADUs since 2015 that have been approved, and notes, if any have gotten variances, that kind of thing. Just to kind of keep track of all of them. So we ended up coming up with the average square feet was 902. And that goes back into the draft, how we put the 900 square foot cap. I did reach out to Henry, the building commissioner, to see if we could get some information on, there were references to universal design and to high efficiency and things of that nature. And we found that it's kind of hard to get a good definition or have a good code to reference, and codes may change as well. So we removed references to that from the new draft. And then just included a little fact sheet if anyone's curious about the differences between accessible, adaptable, and universal design, which are all slightly different concepts. But that's all just some background information and research we did here. Let's see. Okay, so now we're at the the major changes since the last iteration are really on page 2. It's under 3.3.4. So we added that the ADU cannot be larger than the existing dwelling unit. So we added to the 900 square feet, it just shall not exceed the size of the primary dwelling unit. So the percentages are still gone, but we wanted to have some kind of hierarchy here. And then, so those references to universal design, high efficiency and things have been removed. But we did include a line regarding providing accessible housing units, and that the board may allow reasonable deviation from the maximum size if necessary to install features that facilitate access and mobility for persons with disabilities. And I think maybe the case that was just before you is a great example of this, although they didn't go over the 900 square feet, but you can see how that may happen.
So what does that mean for us? Is that something that we have discretion over, and we
Yes.
can,
That would be the intent, that if they demonstrate that they're implementing features that are for creating additional accessibility into this new ADU, and it happens to bring it over 900 square feet, then you have the discretion to allow that unit to be over 900.
can we allow it as a matter of right, or do we have to?
Throughout the special permit process, so it wouldn't be a variance on top of the special permit, but you would be able to consider that as part of the special permit process.
Okay.
But the onus would be on the applicant to demonstrate that in their plans, that this
Just like
additional space is
they
needed.
just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that this additional space is needed for, say, a ramp or something like that, to bring it over the 900 square feet.
Another change that we made was just, so down here, we gave parking, which was already in there. There was already a blurb about parking, but we gave it its own number, shortened it up and cleaned it up a bit. We just got rid of some extraneous things there. So those are really the changes that have been done since the last time. Those are the main, those are the only changes, right? Wasn't anything else, right?
And then the planning board reviewed it.
Yeah. And so we did present this to the planning board last night. They had a couple of comments. So I don't know if you want to know what their comments were first, or if you want to give your comments first, and then I'll tell you what they thought, however you want to do it.
Anybody have any comments?
Not yet.
No.
So let's hear what the planning board had to say.
All right. So their biggest things were actually under the purpose. So on the first page, they wanted to strike numbers 4 and 7, but potentially combine some of that subject matter of 4 into number 2. And while I won't speak for the board, I think that there was some discussion about, affordable versus moderately priced, and affordable housing really can be created in many other, or probably better ways than, you know, just an ADU. It is typically used for family members, though it does not have to be. So it's just kind of cleaning up some of that language. So that was really their comments. I don't think they had anything
So
else.
it was language more than the intent?
I think it just had a slightly different intent than what they wanted to take out, I think, some of the focus on, in particular, you know, provide housing options for residents who do not desire a single unit house with land. But that's pretty much everywhere in Westford, and even if you get an ADU, you're still living in a single family house with land. So it was those kinds of things, to kind of clean that up a little bit. So striking 4 and 7, and then incorporating some of the affordability part into number 2 is, I believe, what they were proposing.
So you have to come up with some language then, is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, I think we are going to try to combine 2 and 4 in some way. We'll probably draft language for that, unless you have thoughts or you have thoughts. We haven't actually drafted, you know, because planning board was just last night. So,
But otherwise, that would be the only change that the planning board had recommended. But I don't know if there are any other changes that you all have.
I mean, are we losing the rental unit concept by doing what they want to do?
I think that the definition and the purpose of ADUs already kind of encompasses that. So some people will choose to call it out specifically, but I don't. You can probably speak better to this, Joe. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think there was a little bit of concern on the planning board's part of having spaces that were going to be rented out. That being said, you know, there could be family situations where maybe you have, you know, a family member that lives there for a time, and then, you know, in the future there's potential for a parent or an in-law that's going to be living in your home in this ADU space. But that gap may be a few years, and you don't want to have an abandoned use on the property. So there could be a potential for renting, even though that might not have been, you know, the original intent when you had the unit anyway. So in a way, I think it could be, you know, important still to be a factor. But maybe, you know, depending on how this board feels as well, it's worth more discussion to figure if you want it identified in the purpose of the bylaw.
So I thought we went over this, that the general purpose of the bylaw is we always took it to mean that it was for a family member or something like that. And of course, that's not what the bylaw says. We just got it in our minds that that's what it said. Right. And eventually what happens is an ADU that's built for a family member, usually an older person, you know, unfortunately they pass away, and then you wind up with, like you said, this piece attached to your house that we all know is going to go and be rented in some fashion. I mean, we've seen it a million times before. What I'm still having a hard time with is someone coming to us to build an ADU right off the bat, and it's going to be a rental unit. But the bylaw says you can do it.
Also, the state.
Actually, because
Yeah.
the detached twos, also, we haven't really seen a lot of detached ADUs, right? I mean, I'm looking through this list, it looks like there's maybe one, right? But
I think I've seen, you know, 1 or 2 in
yeah,
the year
so
that I've been here.
that's
So
kind of
they're
interesting,
less
because
common.
now that it takes, you know, how they define that there, accessory dwelling unit may be located in the principal structure or in a detached accessory structure. So you could really build an ADU on your lot, right, as long as it's within the,
Perhaps
you know,
adding the word existing
zoning.
there might make
it's
more
not,
sense.
it doesn't have to be existing, though, you could build a new home on there, right?
I'm just saying if that's a concern, then maybe adding the word existing, could be an option.
I will say, though, to that point, that the only change we've made to this is striking the requirement that it has to be in existence for 10 years. So somebody could theoretically construct an ADU that looks like a barn from the outside and it would maintain the appearance of a single-family dwelling with the main unit and the detached barn or garage type looking building. I think more often than not, people will build onto their house as opposed to just constructing a detached unit kind of out of nowhere. But the detached unit is a good option for people that do have like old barns or things like that. That would be good to. I think that there was one approved recently. I don't recall the address, but there was one.
Flag Road, yeah. There was a garage.
Concord Road,
Yeah, they converted
Weedemo Way.
many ADUs.
In my time on the board, those are the three that popped into my mind because they had, Flag Road was a big garage, it was converted.
Right.
Concord Road was like a little guest house back in the day when it was Cobb's Chicken Farm that was there. And then Weedemo Way was part of Camp Weedemo down there. There was a little existing building that they converted. So it was all stuff that had been there for a while.
Yeah.
So am I misunderstanding, I guess maybe I'm misunderstanding, you are striking that out, the 10 years, at least 10 years? Or
That's what we're proposing to do, as long as, if the board is amenable to that. But that is what we are currently proposing to do.
I don't know about that 10 years. I don't know that it's, I mean, I think I'm okay with that change.
Yeah, I think we have flexibility to probably vote on it, right? If it's, it's probably gonna be tough to build a 900 square foot detached unit, really, right? Or, I don't know.
Well, it isn't. This is what Bob Herman would call an end run.
It's an end run, obviously.
Somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm gonna build a 2-car garage. Okay, great, they build a 2-car garage, 6 months, a year later, they come to us and say, oh, I'm gonna convert that to an ADU. And I think that's, I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but that was my take on the 10-year deal. So, you're just looking for comment from us?
Yeah, just general feedback. If you have any specific changes too, definitely we want to hear your thoughts and if you have any changes to our changes or additional changes.
And then to go over 900 square feet. It's a variance.
So if they are providing, accessible features that kind of lead them to go over the 900, they are allowed to do that per your discretion under the special permit process. But if they wanted to exceed 900 square feet and they are not proposing any sort of accessible design elements, they would still need a variance.
So I think the whole reason we got wound up on this was that there are some smaller houses in town in certain neighborhoods where, in order to abide by the law, they'd have a 200 square foot ADU. Now, we have seen, I can't remember where it was, that someone come in for a bigger ADU on a small house, way over the 15%, and the ADU is now gonna be the principal residence, and the existing house is gonna be the ADU. I think it doesn't matter where the owner lives, as long as he or she is in one of them. So I think that's kind of something that we need to address also.
Yeah, in this case, the only change that is sort of related to that is that we have that the principal must be smaller than it must be larger than the accessory dwelling unit.
But what if they switch it like Scott
Yeah,
just
they
said?
switch it, right? Could they?
Well, now
They say we're gonna do a new house, but we're gonna keep that as the accessory dwelling unit.
now the new principal is larger than the accessory.
Right, so they couldn't do that.
Because the intent of the 900 was to make it a level playing field, right, with people with the
Right,
smaller homes.
right. There's some
Yeah, they were
small 2 or 3
unfairly-
bedroom ranches that,
Right.
you know.
Well, do we see many homes that are under 900 square feet? Probably not.
Not anymore.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
yeah, so,
Bought up.
yeah, so that may not be an issue, you know, if, as long as the other house is 901 square feet, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's
That's all
basically
it
what
has
it
to be,
is.
right?
But they can get around that by coming to us for a variance on the 900 square feet, right?
Would have the right to apply for a variance to go over the 900 square feet, and then you would, decide if they meet the criteria or not.
So that'd be our discretion, we could
Correct.
hold the line, or depends on the individual circumstances of the applicant, I suppose. It might be, I mean, there theoretically can be exigent circumstances.
Right, with any of these, yeah.
You know, family situation particularly with, typically it's the elderly parent or two, but it could be a larger family configuration that has some other issues. You'd have to convince the board, if that were the case, to go over 900. Up to us.
So now garage space is included in the 900 or not included in the 900?
It's not. The definition of an accessory dwelling unit specifies dwelling unit, and then the definition of dwelling
Living
unit
space.
specifically excludes,
I noticed they use that word living space, yeah, so that,
So theoretically, someone who has acreage or whatever could essentially put up a 30 by 30 ranch with a 2-car garage next to it, under these guidelines.
It does have to maintain the appearance of a single-family house. So if you have two what appear to be separate single-family houses with their own driveways and their own garages, that's not going to meet other parts of the bylaw. It does have to, the whole property has to look like it's a single-family house, not two separate, not two
So how do the
structures.
detached ones come into play then?
I'm sorry, how to what?
If they have a detached ADU, how does that look like a single family?
Yeah, it would still have to maintain the appearance of a single-family accessory structure. So, for example, a barn. If you throw a couple windows on there and you make a smaller door in there, it could still look like a nice barn. And you do have some discretion with what it means to look like a single-family house. I mean, if the detached barn or garage is 100 feet away and then necessitates its own driveway to get there, that may not look quite like a single depending on the specific property and your point of view about a specific project. That's kind of the idea of it. We're still trying to maintain the appearance of single-family lots.
So to Scott's point, if you have a 3-bedroom ranch that's existing, you build a 3-bedroom ranch behind it, and you extend the roof line, it's one unit.
But would the neighbors from the side think it maintains the appearance of a, it's a little bit subjective, that whole concept, so.
Well, down at 124 Main Street, that was on there for years. If you looked at the old Hicks property, there was the house, there was the garage in the back with an apartment above it, and they just extended.
They put a
like
2x6
6-foot
across.
walk line underneath. It's all one roof line.
Yeah.
It's attached.
Well, the other good
crazy
thing,
things going on over there, right?
Oh, yeah. Kept them dry on the rainy nights.
the other good thing about it being a special permit still is that you do have discretion on a case-by-case basis. So if somebody comes to you with that kind of project, you can give whatever your opinion may be on that type of project.
Yeah, and I think even going back to that, some of this information we had from Jonathan in the training, you know, we deny it, basically, I mean, that's it. They're not gonna overcome it. So, that discretion, I think, is with the board, for something that you just described, you know, we could say, no,
Well,
But could they do it as a matter of right if it was a 900-foot detached accessory structure,
That's what I mean.
right? That's a
It's
matter,
almost a right.
right,
And the bylaw saying you can develop a 900 square foot
right,
unit.
right. On your
Attached or
yacht,
detached?
On your lot, right, yeah.
But with a special permit only.
It's a, yeah, it's with.
You
the
need a special permit for any ADU regardless of size. There's nothing by right in this portion of the bylaw, it's all,
Okay, all right.
yeah, it's all still under the special
it's still
permit
special
process.
permit.
Yeah, yeah,
could
so it's
deny.
pretty much all, you know, your discretion.
so the perfect example of that is 16 Flag Road. There was a house. They put a corridor with a roof to the second house that was 2,288 square feet.
right.
That's the one up on the hill, right?
That's
The
right on
brown
Flag
one?
Road.
Yeah, the one by Elkhorn Crossing.
Right in the corner,
Yeah,
yep.
in the corner of Elkhorn, yeah.
Because there was one further down on Flag where they actually had the garage in the back
He had a garage, a working garage.
at one time.
At one time,
But then he sold the house to the son
to
and
the
he,
son,
and he
lives
was
in that
building out the
And
garage.
he spends the winter in Florida.
Right.
But that was a garage, he had a lift in there and
Mhm.
they just ripped everything out and redid it as an ADU. But it's behind the, you don't even see it.
Yeah, it's like
behind the
400
house.
feet
You-
past the house.
You can't see it going by.
There's a
It was
truck,
an ADU?
yeah.
It was a garage, it was a,
Yeah.
It
was
I
a
thought
two-bay
that was
garage.
I thought that was a house now.
well, it's an ADU. Yeah, we approved it as an ADU. His son, and he moved into the ADU and his son is in the.
That's right,
in the
yeah,
main
he
house.
couldn't afford, yeah, that's, yeah, that's,
Mhm.
yeah.
But it was a working garage for, I don't know how that was permitted, but for a long time. It was kind of a repair shop is what it was.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other comments? So did you get anything out of that useful, or are you still,
We're all over the board.
still floundering?
No, it's good feedback, thank you. We need to kind of flesh out these possibilities of, well, what if this happens and what if this happens? Because we need those considerations to put the right language into bylaws.
So you're gonna, come up with some new language for 2, 4, and 7?
Yeah, we'll work on
Combine
that
'em.
between now and the next
Okay.
meeting.
That's the only issue the planning board had, is with those two?
Yep, they didn't have any other changes proposed.
All right, I guess that was it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.